By the way, Matthew, are you on your best mic situation?
I am, but I noticed when I was testing it against Discord, it sounded pretty bad. Basically, I'm waiting for Black Friday to buy one of those Yeti mics or something like that.
I wouldn't be so sure about that because I think people keep buying up those Yetis to mine cryptid currency.
What?
Hey,
Really?
That's a good
yes,
joke.
I said cryptid currency.
It's a joke he's making.
Oh my
about
God.
Yetis being cryptids.
Yes.
I mean,
Cryptid currency.
Yeah.
that joke came from hell.
Now's your chance to be a big shot. This is episode 203 of Insert Credit, the relentless smorgasbord of video game topics where our panel of experts must address each one in about 5 to 6 minutes, or face the penalty in the wrath of a horrible buzzer. I'm Alex Jaffe, still broadcasting from Hollywood, Florida, and if I were stranded on a desert island with 5 games, I would probably be dead in 4 days.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm Brandon Sheffield. If I were stranded on an island with 5 video games, it depends on what kind of island we're talking about. Like, if it's one of the islands of Japan, I'd probably do okay. But if there wasn't any people on theirs, I think I would start eating plants pretty quickly.
Here's the thing, if it were one of those Japanese islands, you would probably have more than 5 video games, so it can't
That's
be.
true. Okay, good point. So we're talking about, like, Ireland, maybe.
Maybe.
I think in Ireland I would last about a day.
That's about right. Speaking of Ireland, joining us this week.
Oh no.
Yes, of course. It's me, the Emerald Ale.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, our very own Mathew Kumar, close friend of the show, is joining us.
Yep, hello, I'm Scottish, as everybody knows, and if I was trapped on a desert island with 5 games, of course one of them would be Sensible World of Soccer!
And then 4 other copies of Sensible World of Soccer.
Of
Maybe
course.
one of them would be Lemming.
The 97, 98 edition,
Yeah.
and then one of the modern editions, and
Sure.
then the Mega Drive version, and yeah, of course, that's all I need.
That's the key to your survival. You'll live a long and happy life off those. Also joining us, because Frank is away on assignment, it gives us an opportunity to welcome another one of our beloved frequent seat warmers. Elizabeth Lids Ryerson is with us.
Hello, I'm Frank's replacement temporarily.
Yeah, permanently.
I was waiting for a discussion on how Amiga games aren't really games or something like that, because retro games people like to slag off Amiga games. Anyway, if I were stranded on a desert island with 5 games, if I had access to that recycler thing from Prey 2017 Prey, I would just dump them all in the recycler and have it give me a life raft and a flare gun and not play the games because they're completely fucking useless.
I'm going to say you can do that if that's one of the games you bring.
Okay, that's one of the games that I
Yeah.
brought with me.
All
But
right.
I think you're going to need special editions because you need an equivalent amount of material.
Oh, right. I should get one of those like Fallout special editions,
Yeah.
that has a bunch of useless plastic junk
Now
that,
we're
can
talking.
be used to,
Get that and get Steel Battalion for Xbox with a controller.
Oh, yeah.
The exact game, right? Wasn't one of the Kinect games, didn't it come with a raft that you could inflate?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
well, clearly
yeah.
I would choose that game.
Right. I was thinking, like, are there any games that come with, like, Dakimakuras, but they're inflatable instead of, like, pillow covers?
Yeah, I don't know if those rafts were actually like usable. I don't think you could put it in water. I think it was for sitting on the ground with.
Beats
Connect
nothing.
Play or Let's Connect. I forget what it was.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. You could get one of those video games that you can only play like a station on a cruise line, and that way you get the whole boat.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, okay.
Handy.
All right.
I don't know. I think we're making this too easy, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit on my island playing Sensible World of Soccer, and you guys
Yeah.
can do whatever you like.
I'm going to be
Okay.
in Ireland dead in a day.
Well,
Yeah.
our first question comes from the winner of our last episode, Vincent Diamante. Vince says, nowadays, there are a lot of cheap or even freely accessible games, but that doesn't mean that you don't spend money on them. Ignoring stuff like the standard stuff of customization and energy mechanics, what's the most expensive but worthwhile thing you've purchased for one of these free or cheap games? As an example, Hori made a $200 flight stick for PlayStation 3, ostensibly for games like Ace Combat, but the only Ace Combat game made for that system was the free-to-play and no longer accessible Ace Combat Infinity. I bought one of these and I don't regret it, as it made the game a significantly better experience than any of the software bits you could purchase in-game.
Well, I think he's got the best answer.
Yeah, he's killed this one, so...
I don't really have an answer to this.
I should have saved the second half of this for the end of this topic.
Right.
That's a tip to me.
I think this is an interesting one because, like, I do play my, fair enough share of, free-to-play games and stuff. But, like, the cost is always, like, how much do you value your time versus how much do you value, like, getting a bit ahead on something or getting something you really like. And I'm, like, one of those people who, like, apparently just doesn't value their time at all because I will obsessively try and avoid spending any money in these games to just the absolute maximum limits, no matter what is required. It's like, no matter how much smoother it would make my life, I almost invariably refuse to spend any money.
I'm the opposite way to where, I mean, it's actually not the opposite because I don't think it actually saves me time. If I determine that I am going to like a free-to-play game, I'll spend money in the first week, sort of equivalent to how much fun I think I'm going to have and how long I'm going to play it. So I'm playing World Flipper right now. So I basically right away, after one day of playing it, I spent $8. But I feel like these days, especially with games out of Japan and Korea, because there are specific laws about gambling and whatnot, the money that you spend, it doesn't really get you some big advantage. It gets you additional turns at the old gacha machine, but it doesn't feel like I bought something that got me ahead in the game, really. So to me, it's like a donation to the cause of, like, I think this game is fine, and so I will give you money. But I think in terms of, actual value that I've gotten purchasing surrounding a free-to-play game, it's got to be ones where it's like shareware style, where like Doom or whatever, you got the first few levels free and then you pay for the rest of them. I appreciate that model and like the, unlock the version that has no ads and has all the content unlocked. Like that's right. For me, that's the best kind of thing that you can purchase. And
yeah, I'll always buy that on the...
It's wild when a company like PopCap, for example, they took Bejeweled 3, which was great on iPad and had all these cool modes and stuff. And then they made it free to play. I think I've told this story on the podcast before. They made it free to play with an update. So if you updated it, even if you bought it for $10 in the past, then it still became free to play, had energy mechanics, limited how much you could play it, remove some of the modes and put them into like an energy mechanic and things. And my girlfriend, she just had the auto updates on. And so she updated the $10 game she had purchased, and then it became unusable in the way that we were using it before. And I didn't update, and so I still have the game, but it's like it's like no longer the game that you paid for it. So that's the opposite thing happening there. They just like screwed everybody.
You got yourself a zombie game.
That's right.
It's just like the Cranberries, just because we were talking about Ireland. It's in your head. Zombie.
Yeah, I get it.
I just thought of something. When I was in college, I found out that you could mod PS2 and have a hard drive, like use the network adapter.
Oh yeah.
To put a hard drive in the back and download ISOs. So I did that, but I was like, I'm going to put a mod chip in. I'm going to install a mod chip because I had like just started using like a soldering gun and I didn't know what I was doing at all. So I completely bricked the PS2. So I had to buy a new PS2. I had to buy the right kind of hard drive. I had to buy the network adapter. I had to buy something called Swap Magic, which was like
that one.
Something, which you don't really need to use anymore. I had to buy an adapter for USB out to the older kinds of hard drives. I forget what IDE cable or whatever. I'm trying to think of what else I had to buy, but like for the amount of time and resources that I'd spent investing in being like, oh, I'm gonna pirate these games. Yeah, I'm gonna have like 30 or 40 PS2 games. I still spent like $100 or $150.
Yeah, nice. I did a similar thing back in college. I mean, Vince, who proposed this question, he was the one who had the hard drive situation. That was a couple of years later. But I got the DMS3 mod chip on my PS2. It's still in there. And I traded a guy a fish for it. Did I tell this story? Or whatever. Who cares? You can hear it again.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I traded him a fish for it. It still works. And I not the mod chip, not the fish. But I went to a pet store and I saw this mini shark and I was like, man, that's cool. It was just like 3 inches long. I was like, this mini shark, can it live with other fish? Is that fine? He had like all these nice tropical fish, and they're like, yeah, totally. It's non-aggressive. It's just a little guy. And so I gave him this fish, and then it just like every other day there was another fish missing this tank, and eventually there was pretty much just like a happy shark and one fish that was too big for it to eat. And that was all that was in there. And so I gave that guy a real negative impression.
That's what happens when you buy your friend a game shark.
Hey!
Okay.
It's amusing to me that we went from talking about free to play and we didn't mention whales at all, but got an entire discussion about sharks.
Yeah, there you go.
How do you make blocking or defense mechanics as fun as attacking in a video game?
Oh yeah. Well, one thing is with cool animations. That helps a lot.
That counts a lot.
We talk about Asuka a lot on this show here, but their parrying is done through like clashing and attacking, and so it's not exactly the same thing, but if you can be pressing and feeling active while you're doing it, like say the block requires inputs and buttons, then it'll actually feel fun, which I think is why people enjoy the parries so much in Street Fighter 3 and that whole group of games, because you have to tap forward at the right moment to do that just defend parry. It really feels like you're doing it. There's something about pushing forward to block versus pushing back to block that makes it feel not aggressive but active. You're really participating in doing it. So I feel there needs to be this like friction of action that happens rather than you hit back at the right time. You're not retreating your advance.
I think you could design a game just around blocking and try and make that. I mean, theoretically, you could design a game where you try to make the blocking feel excellent, but then try to make the attacking feel horrible. You think of like attacking in like a Silent Hill game or something where you're trying to attack an enemy and they're just like a meat sponge and it feels horrible and the controls are horrible. You could do that for attack. Because like I think about the original Mortal Kombat games, when you tried to block, it was terrible because they just like were just like, ugh, they just like hold up a thing. It looks awful. But if you like invested a lot of time and energy and feedback around this like idea that blocking is the most awesome thing that you could do, then you could make that kind of game. Yeah, it just seems more investment in time and priorities and like what type of game you're making.
I can't remember the name of that real free-to-play game that was all block. It just do different kinds of blocks, but then your block would, I think it was
an endless runner?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't endless because it had stages and stuff, but it was an auto scroller. Actually. Was
it also a first-person shooter and an RTS?
It was not. It was neither.
Oh, okay. I think it was Roblox.
It was probably Roblox.
Oh yeah. Did you know that? Oh, never mind. I'm not even gonna bring that up. I just excised what I was about to say.
What?
Fair enough.
I was about to make fun of Tommy Tallarico, but I'm not gonna stoop to that.
Okay. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time on this show. Let me tell you.
He apparently likes to claim that he came up with the like sound in Roblox, and now I think of that every.
No. So that's true. But he didn't come up with it in Roblox. What happened is someone, I guess Frank has mentioned this on the show before, but someone used that oof sound that Tommy Tallarico's team had made.
Oh.
And then he sued them, and then he got to put his name in the credits as having created that part of the
big
game.
oof.
That's what.
The big oof sounds like a terrible comedy with like aging boomers in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. My hip.
It's on right after The Connor.
What's that?
Oh, that's the spin-off of Roseanne starring everybody but Roseanne.
Roseanne minus Roseanne, because Roseanne got canceled.
Wow, that's a real show, I guess.
Yeah, yes, it's like its third season or something.
Wow. Okay. Wait, it's going on now?
Yeah.
Yes.
In real life?
Yeah.
They rebooted Roseanne, and then she said, I don't know, racist or sexist. I don't even remember what she said. She said all kind of weird stuff, and then she got kicked off the show. Yeah. And then they continued making the show just without her.
That's all right. So is John Goodman in, or is he not?
Yes.
Yeah, John Goodman's still in it.
He's still in it. He lost quite a bit of weight. I mean, he definitely looks old, but he lost weight.
Well, I guess that's the answer to whatever question we're talking about.
Fair enough. All right. Here's
Connor.
Question 3. I heard a terrible rumor that Quantic Dream is talking to the Star Wars people right now about making a Star Wars game. What do you think they're talking about doing with Star Wars right now?
Well, there's going to be There's going to be a David Cage self-insert, and he's going to be, now this is called racing.
His self-insert could be Anakin, right? Because like all these David Cage games are like, I murdered somebody, but I didn't really. It's somebody else's fault. Like I did this bad thing, but it's actually somebody else's fault. It's not my responsibility.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Yeah, so it's Anakin, and it's just like, oh wow, the universe is conspiring against me. Like, oh wow, the Force is just like, I have satanic forces, and it's like I didn't kill all those kids or whatever he does in like one of the Jedi movies.
Cancel culture made me kill those younglings.
Yes, yeah, it's all about cancel culture. It was all a misunderstanding and a satanic cult.
Oh, and I think also they'll put in an ending that the fans don't like, and then they'll go back and change it to something that the fans do, that they think the fans will like, and then they'll be mad at that. Because they did do it with the Detroit Humany thing. The one interesting thing they did was remove the android from the title screen because she'd become emancipated. She was just not a slave anymore.
And then they're like, hey, where's my android?
Where's my android? And then
where's that droid I'm looking for?
We put a new one in there instead, so you got a new slave. Cool.
Yes, there should also be an explicit sex scene with a female droid.
Sure.
Yeah.
R2D2 with big chest bumps.
Yeah.
Oh, and you can turn your lightsaber on and off by like slowly squeezing the analog triggers so that like it'll go whirring.
By rotating your PlayStation Move
forth and back, like
you have to do a quick time thing to activate your lightsaber. If you fail, you just fall down. It's like this is the end of my story. This is how I died. Sorry, you could tell that Indigo Prophecy is the only one I really seriously played.
Man, I really hope this doesn't happen, guys. I like Star Wars.
Oh, I hope it does happen. I don't like Star Wars.
I'm not on side with you, Brandon. I desperately wish this not to happen. David Cage sucks such an incredible amount, and he's, as long established, extremely toxic, and it's just one of those baffling rumors, which is like so many things where you're like, do you people not read what's going on? Like, this guy's in a court case in France, right? Like,
just the worst dude.
He's just the worst, and his games, as pointed out, self-insertion, terribly written, completely moronic on basically every level, and so it just seems like a really baffling, like, what kind of agreement is being made. Like, I don't even understand why Sony still works with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense on any level how this guy can continue to fail upwards, considering the only thing he's ever done that's been interesting, I think, is that first segment in Indigo Prophecy where you're like, oh, I need to hide this body, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then when the guy comes in, based on what you've done, the game, like, he reacts differently to it, and you can play it different ways, which is, like, the only thing he's ever done that seems slightly interesting. But that comes after him appearing at the beginning of the game, being like, hello, it's me, David Cage. Welcome to my video game. And so you're already in a bad mood by that point. So I can't think of anything worse than, like, booting up the next Star Wars games. And Star Wars games have not been particularly good for a long time. They're all terrible, like, extended universe
That's
things.
the thing. It's like it's already, that franchise has already been mined to death.
I liked Fallen Order.
Become more of a garbage fire than it was before, we'll say. So, and I mean, I would feel bad for anybody who had to work for him, or anybody who had time and energy and money invested in this. I mean, I think that is ridiculous, and that just shows you how little any of this stuff is taken seriously. I mean, it's been said many times, cancel culture isn't really actually real when it comes down to it, because the people are able to continue to do the things that they were doing before.
As long as you're a white man with money, it doesn't actually affect you very much.
And I think a lot of the people who have money, they're not paying attention to that. They just know that David Cage is a name, and they could sell something with that. And he also has like stock because he has, he worked with David Bowie, and he has like, he has this kind of a cinematic sensibility. So I imagine people from Hollywood who don't really follow the space at all would be, taken by that in the same way they were taken by crappy FMV games in the 90s. So I don't know. I think if it does get made, I want to see the end result, because I hope it's hilarious and everyone makes fun of it. But obviously I don't want it to get made.
I mean, the history of Star Wars games is so weird that even a Quantic Dream Star Wars game could not possibly be the worst Star Wars game. That already happened.
There's the Kinect one, there's Masters of Terakasai. Like, the thing is, though, like, I mean, I think possibly me and Jaffe might be alone. Like, people, like, I'm really, really fond of Star Wars. Like,
me too.
For its ups and downs, like, I think that, like, because I think it's so easy now for people to be like, really just down on like, big IP, right? They're like, oh, Marvel's ruining everything, blah, 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 right? And I like, I understand
That's me,
it.
by the way.
There's also like, if things are well made, even within a titanically huge IP, it still can be a good transformative experience. There's certain Star Wars works, and yes, including Marvel works, who actually get to be genuinely good at being what they're supposed to be.
I mean, The Mandalorian's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? Well, apart from the last episode, but that's...
Sure.
But
Yeah,
beside the point.
episode.
So, as someone who's fond of it, the idea of getting like a nasty French sex pest to make your a crappy game with moral choices and like terrible cinematics and big robot titties is the last thing on earth I want, and we should send death squads to France immediately if this is what's going to happen.
Sorry, I'm the sicko in the window saying yes.
Yeah.
I'm also the sicko in the window saying yes. If it is made, I hope it's a complete train wreck, and we can all enjoy laughing at it.
I just can't. Maybe too sad.
In conclusion, I thought Fallen Order was pretty good. They're like Dark Souls-like game. I liked that.
And Squadrons is pretty good.
Squadrons is okay.
I don't like Squadrons at all. We could talk about that later.
It's not as good as the originals, but like it's got kind of a thing going for it.
Which games were the most interesting to you prior to their release?
I hear David Cage is making a Star Wars
game.
Have you all heard of that game Cruelty Squad?
Heard of it, yeah.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
No.
Okay, it's a very... I don't want to describe it. I'm terrible at describing these things.
Well, you gotta. He's right up.
It's a very strange, immersive sim first-person game with like color barf aesthetics, and it's kind of nihilistic.
It's like late 90s computing visuals, but done on purpose, but with also some like weird CG-ish stuff. And then there's a lot of strangeness to the gameplay, and it's all intentional.
Yeah, it's kind of satirical a little bit.
Yeah, but it doesn't wind up feeling twee or
no,
too, like, it's earnest about it.
Yeah, it's more like gross, like grindhouse type thing than twee. For whatever reason, I had followed the developer, like, in the making of it, and he was posting like just random videos from it, and I was like, wow, this looks like a really bizarre, interesting art game. And my interest was kind of piqued, and then, it kind of blew up and became a thing. But I don't know, I guess that's an answer of something that like I had a almost completely different perception of what the game was and how people would receive it before it came out.
Yeah, it definitely did not predict that game was going to do well or have prominent streamers playing it, but there it went. And it's good to see that kind of thing can happen to a game like that.
I mean, yeah, I still haven't played it yet. I'm still intending to, but I've watched a lot of the other people play it, and I'm extremely into it.
I was excited about that other game that I can't even remember the name of, that has all those goddamn amazing GIFs of hands making motions in front of the camera, and it's an RPG, and all the characters in the background are like, they look like they're claymation, but they're probably, it all looks so weird and everything's jiggling around. I don't remember what it's called.
Figure that one out.
Yeah, see if you can figure that.
It's called Jiggly Hands.
Someone knows what I'm talking
teaser
about.
For
I was excited for that game that was like the thing, and then the thing did the thing.
Yeah, it was
real
pretty good.
Blockbuster video patron here.
I think you asked me about, you're like, what's some indie game that's like lo-fi and in 3D? And I'm like, Brendan, that's like 8 million games.
I'm gonna figure it out. I was a lot more excited about Yakuza Like a Dragon before it came out than after it came out. I still like it, but it is my least favorite Yakuza game because I think the battle system's not good.
Yeah.
Prolongs the game a lot, and the protagonist, they talk about how they could do all kinds of different things with him that they couldn't do with Kiryu, but really he's just a lot like Kiryu, but not as good. And they should have done something with like the loan shark guy from 4 and 5. Like that guy's actually different. Kasuga Ichiban is like a Kiryu light, in my opinion.
I'll tell you, nothing killed the hype for Kingdom Hearts 3 like the release of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, that's for sure. I tried to play that thing. That thing has 3 intros, and after the 3 intros, I had no idea what was going on.
Well, that's common for the entire series.
It is, but like, come on, just don't do any intros then. Just like throw me into it, Like, why do I have to wait an hour of explanation of things I can't understand before I start playing the game I don't understand?
To some respects, the way we've talked about this question, it's a bit like, what is a game that came out you were then disappointed by? I mean...
Oh, yeah, see, I interpret it differently.
I was just going to say that, like, for me personally, like, I think I've steadfastly, like, for what feels like decades now, just refuse to be excited by any forthcoming video games because all I can think about is my backlog. Just because of the way I consume video games, all I can think about is just like every game that's going to come out, I think, please be delayed, please take longer. I'll never get to you anyway. So like, even like, I mean, what, Nintendo's going to announce a bunch of stuff in like 40 minutes or whatever like that. And I'm going to be like, don't be anything good. Just be some rubbish so I can go another year without having to buy any more video games.
You know, it's funny you should mention that because that takes us right into our next topic. It's time for yet another improv zone, everybody.
I knew this was coming.
Oh,
Literally.
no.
I was in the shower today and I thought, I know what's going to come up.
So our Sony presentation in the last episode we recorded was so successful that all of you were asked to represent Nintendo at the surprise Nintendo Direct, which will be taking place right after we record this episode. So I want you to provide us with a look at what's coming from all of our uncles who work at Nintendo.
Here, for the first 40 minutes, we're going to be talking about Smash. We got one new character. He's an anime. And he's got a sword. And his hair is blue this time. And here's 40 minutes about the very specific mechanics of it. Everybody who's not interested, you can just come back in 45 minutes, and maybe we'll have something else for you. But the first 45 minutes, all Smash about this one character. Please enjoy.
Also, here's 10 minutes of clips of some Marvel game that is ported from PS5 and runs at 15 frames per second that I'm sure you'll be into. Also, hello, did you enjoy what you've seen so far in this presentation? Do you enjoy this plant that is sitting in the corner of the room? Up next, we have 5 different indie games that will allow you to be a small business tyrant and lord over your small town.
All right, guys, it's me, Dogs Bowser. You remember me, all the gags about being called Bowser, and maybe a reference to another video game there. Well, you've all been excited about the fact that we have a new controller coming for the Switch. You've been talking about that FEC filing and all that. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It is, in fact, the return of the Wii Pulse Oximeter. That's right. You stick your finger in the thing, and it's going to tell you how much oxygen is in your blood. And the only game it works with is Dr. Mario, and he simply informs you how to deal with your COVID symptoms, which you may have, because that's what we're testing you for. So, Dr. Mario tests you for COVID. That'll be out. It'll be $69. Include the Pulse Oximeter. Nice. Yeah, we all agree at Nintendo it is very nice, and it will not work with any other game for the life of the system. That's all we're going to do with it. But please buy.
And we will only manufacture 1,000 copies, so it will never be in print.
We also have some new amiibos. Speaking of that, these amiibos are the only way that you can get some new missions in Breath of the Wild, some new content. You have to buy these amiibos. They cost $20 each. You can only buy them physically in stores at GameStop. And we guarantee, our promise to you is that they will sell out within 5 minutes. You will not be able to buy one. And there is no other way to get any more content for Breath of the Wild. That is our promise to you. We also have an announcement. We know you're all waiting for the Switch Pro. We hear you talking about the Switch Pro. So we are, in fact, announcing it a little early, and it has one additional button. That's our big news. There's one button. That button says, "It's a me, Mario." In any game. any game that you play, you can say, "It's a me, Mario." The new console will be $349. It also has already sold out. We haven't fully announced it yet, but it's sold out because they need that.
Are you a fan of the Mario Brothers? I am. We would like to announce the Mario Collection. It features Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 2's Adventure in Mario 2, a special new version of Mario 2, and that's it. The game will be on stores' shelves for a limited time. It will feature nothing else. And the game will sell for $70. We will sue you if you try to play Mario 2's Adventure in Mario 2 in any other way.
And of course, we are well aware that everyone wants to hear a lot about Pokemon. You've heard about Smash, now hear about Pokemon. We're releasing a new Pokemon title for the new Switch Pro, Porygon's Pokemon Polygon Parade, in which we have done every single Pokemon in as high detail polygons as possible. There are so many polygons in every single Pokemon. You can look at them, you can turn them, you can look at them, you can turn them. That's about it. But it should make you happy.
We've also created a brand new algorithm to detect when fan games are being made before they even begin. And we will send you a cease and desist
Just when you think about
the
it.
moment you wake up with the idea. Yes.
We will mobilize an army of fans with unpaid labor for sending cease and desist letters to our fan games across the globe.
Sincerely, Nintendo.
Sincerely, Nintendo.
Did I ever tell you about the time when I was a kid that I thought about sending $10 to Nintendo just because I thought they were doing such a good job?
Are you dork?
Oh, wow.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Should have sent it to Sega. They might still have a console.
No, I didn't like Sega.
Did you have a CD of Say No to Drugs raps as well?
Have you guys listened to the McGruff the Crown Dog album?
Yes! Oh, it's so good! I just know about that inhalants banger. Learned a lesson so true. It's all about inhalants.
Yeah, and my favorite one is cocaine and crack. That's what you say you love. Because I love that it's being sung to someone who's told McGruff that they love cocaine and crack. And then he's like,
I'm glad I saw you, McGruff. You know what I love?
The thing y'all were talking about reminded me of this multiplication rap VHS tape that I have.
Nice.
That's pretty good. Learn quickly and easily with cool rap songs.
White dude with a backward cap.
Oh, the universal rapper song. Whoa, this was a Dr. Toy winner for the 10 best video products.
Yep.
You gotta trust Dr. Toy. He's one of the best doctors of toys.
All right, welcome back to Insert Credit. It's time for us to dive headfirst into the Dirtbag. This is the part of the show that Mathew hates the most. But
Yeah.
it's also the one where I take a question from our astute listeners who value the content we put out every week for some reason and give us a little bit of money so that they can get access to this form that lets them submit their own questions and get exclusive bonus episodes that pop up every month and some other content, and even get access to the regular episodes one day early.
Wait, how many early days you get?
1 day early?
Oh, that's it.
1 day early. This week's question comes from PrivatelyAttack, who says, the staff at Atlas Japan ate some bad hamburgers the other day and decided the next title in the Shin Megami Tensei series will be set in an American Midwestern town. What classic cryptids make their appearance as summonable demons in this thrilling new JRPG?
Wow, this is a very specific question.
The Blue Yeti mic.
Blue Yeti
The
mic.
Blue Yeti mic. I don't know a lot about cryptids, so I'll just say, because we have a Scottish friend on the podcast, the Loch Ness Monster.
Nice.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
that
I mean,
famous American cryptid.
in the Great Lakes, in the Great Lakes region. Hey, I'm from the Midwest. We'll just say that there's a Loch Ness Monster. Sure, why not?
Don't the Great Lakes have Ogopogo?
I don't know. What about the West Virginia thing? What is that called? There's a West Virginia one.
Is it racism?
No, I mean that's everywhere.
That's not a cryptid. It's a real one.
Why if it's set in the US, does it have to be cryptids though? Like, I mean, I thought the whole thing with Shin Megami Tensei was it was like demons and creatures from folklore.
Mothman. I was thinking of Mothman.
I think what PrivatelyAttack is thinking is that a lot of the Shin Megami Tensei monsters are from Japanese folk.
Yeah, but loads of them aren't. Like, I mean, Loch Ness Monster was just brought up, right, as a joke, a racist joke against me, apparently. I'm the fucking butt of the joke because I've got an... Like,
I don't know of any cryptids.
now, here's what I'm going to bring up right now. See, last episode I listened to, you people were talking about, oh, we don't have an accent. Oh, people from some parts of America have an accent, but here I don't have an accent. What the hell are you people talking about? You've got an American accent, you goddamn morons! That's the most embarrassing thing I've ever listened to. Americans talk about how they don't have accents.
No, this is just how English sounds.
First of all, I don't think we said that. And second of all, America's king of the world, and you just gotta get over it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
so I found one from Ohio, right below the Loch Ness Monster on this list. The Loveland Frog, who is a humanoid frog. I've never heard of this, and I am from Ohio. The Mothman is the one from West Virginia that I have heard of. I mean, I guess there's the Jersey Devil, but that's from New Jersey, which is not the Midwest.
It doesn't have to be the Midwest.
Okay.
There's that whatchamacallit mermaid that's like a spooky little face on a tiny fish body that they used to show in carnivals. That's one. We got the Yeti. We got Chupacabra, which comes up from down south.
A sentient version of the Ohio State Buckeye mascot.
Yeah, there
a bunch
you
of
go.
tornadoes. I would say the Wicked Witch of the West, but for some really screwed up reason, the Wizard of Oz is not public domain.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
What? No, I thought it was.
No, I think Warner Brothers owns it.
It's not one of those things, though, a bit like, what's the other thing where, like, you could license the books, but you can't license the movies? Or one of those things where it's like, you can license Wizard of Oz, but the witch can't be green, and the shoes can't be red or something, because those are things which are connected to the copyright of the movie. I think it's one of those.
It might be similar to, like, in Disney movies, because of, they're all adapted from public domain.
They were able to get away with that musical. So, yeah, you could probably stick a witch in there.
Yeah, but you just can't be green. I was thinking there'd be a lot of, like, alien shit, like greys and stuff like that, because that's like a big...
That's American folklore.
American folklore, like a grey alien coming and poking up the bum, right?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. I mean, Americans are obsessed with ghosts and haunted buildings. I mean, I think a lot of people are obsessed with it, but I remember that being a huge, ever-present thing. And I am also a fan of the television show Ghost Adventures, which I feel like is one of the most American shows in the universe, for better or for worse.
One of the monsters would be like in night vision. They would be like a night vision character that was always in night vision, because ghosts are always in night vision.
Yeah,
right.
I think since it's made in Japan, we'd wind up also with a lot of like First Nations deities and stuff. So you'd get like Kokopelli.
They don't have the same baggage. Using those as we do.
Yeah, some of those in there. You might get Anansi. I don't know where Anansi's from, but
that's African.
Yeah, African. Yeah, I think Nigeria maybe.
Yeah. I think you wind up with some of that, and then just a whole bunch of nonsense. You'd probably get Ronald McDonald, get the Hamburglar in there. That's a cryptid.
It would probably make sense to have African folktales, because those are part. Yeah,
I think it'd probably just be Ronald McDonald, the Hamburglar.
Oh yeah, corporate mascot.
And then Treasure would make it instead of Atlas.
Yeah. Well, how about Treasure just make everything instead of Atlas? So
yeah, there we go.
Actually, I think that's totally bang on. I mean, like, not to get too clever here, but I really do think that in America, really, the corporations are your guys' gods, wouldn't you say?
True.
And so when you really think about it, I do believe that all of the wee creatures in this game would probably be, they would be like McDonald's mascots and, Burger King mascots.
Jake from State Farm.
I can't tell if you're like doing a voice or you're mid-yawn.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to do a voice of an extremely boring person saying extremely obvious shit. But yeah, I do think it would just be full of like McDonald's and Burger King and Jake from State Farm and
Jake from State Farm. Yeah.
God, Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm is just like quietly menacing. He's like, "Hey guys," and it's like he's secretly stealing your soul, but he's just like, "I'm Jake from State Farm."
The omnipresent Jake. I'd fight him in a video game.
Did you see that amazing NBA 2K22 clip? Where he's just like, your player character's walking along, and he's like, "Hey, it's me, Jake from State Farm. I'm going to give you the drip." And he dresses his character in a bunch of State Farm shit. Fucking hell.
The weird thing about Jake from State Farm is that they replaced the guy who plays Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm is beyond Jake from State Farm.
He's like a couple actors removed from the original Jake from State Farm.
He strikes me as one of those, when those players horror games where it's like you turn around and they're standing right behind you? That's why he's just, you turn around, Jake from State Farm, right there, "Hey, it's me, Jake from State Farm." You're like, I need you to run away, turn the camera again, he's behind you.
I just want to say that I've done a good enough job of isolating myself from popular culture that my first exposure to Jake from State Farm was that NBA 2K video that went around last week.
That's good.
Wow.
I didn't know about him before that. So I guess he's a little bigger than I thought he was.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, I watch sports games, basketball sometimes, so I have seen all that shit.
He is everywhere in sports games. Oh my god, it is so annoying.
They'll have him in like comic book question and answer panels, like as a guest question asker.
Is he do like a State Farm ad when he's asking questions? He's like, "Can you tell me why it's better for you invest in?" And they're like, "Get this fucking man out of here!" Like in the security.
He's like, "What do you think it means to be a good neighbor?" Piss off.
How would you feel if you were in the middle of a panel and someone just starts doing an advertisement at you? It's like, get me out of your world right now. I do not want to exist in your world.
Isn't that what podcasts are supposed to be? Like we have a panel and then there's an ad in the middle.
Yeah, that is exactly what podcasts are.
Well, I can't wait for that check from State Farm to come in. Oh yeah, all that many times we've said it,
get him on here.
And it gets so much money.
That would be our podcast, but we can't get any advertisers on this show.
We should get the man great.
We should get the man great.
Who are the heroes and role models in the modern video game industry?
Oh heck.
What do you mean by modern? What's your window there?
The ones who are still active right now.
Okay.
Mario is the person that I live my life by. He's a true hero, and I love him, and I want to be Mario when I grow up.
No, I mean like people who work in video games. Who are the good people?
Okay.
Are there any heroes left?
You're gonna like that It's a Me button on the new Switch Pro.
Yeah.
I certainly am. I'm going to buy all the copies of it, and no one else can have it because Mario is mine.
I'm just getting word that they're removing that button, and now you can only access it with the It's Amiibo.
Oh, that's not so nice.
Well, I bought all the copies of that too because I must have Mario. I'm trying to think of a serious answer, and I don't want to puff too many people up. You know, there are people like, every time I interacted with John Romero, when I've met him in person, he's been, nice and friendly. But, I don't want to say like, oh, this is the greatest guy ever, because I'm sure he's done a lot of stupid shit, because I know he has in the past.
Is he still active in the game industry?
Yeah, Romero Games, him and Brenda, I think, have a company. Yeah.
Correct. In Ireland, no less.
In Ireland, yeah.
Where you would die after a single day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to talk about people that, I don't know, we could talk about people that are socially progressive and helping there, and probably worth doing, but I would want to think about it some more. But just in terms of like a hero of game development who does a good job of it, who inspires me, that Hirokazu Yasuhara guy. Every time I talk to him, I get ideas. And he showed this amazing tutorial that he made for teaching people game design in Unity. He's like, here's a plane. Here's just a field, basically. Like it's an empty area. So there's nothing here. It's a possibility space where we can do anything. Now let's put a ball in it. The ball doesn't do anything. It's just there. But now it's red, and so we got some visual appeal. And now, what if we bounce it up and down? Okay, now there's something moving.
He sounds exactly like Bob Ross. You just made him sound exactly like Bob Ross.
The Bob Ross of video games.
Yeah, I guess he is kind of the Bob Ross of video games. Then he's like, okay, but if we have multiple balls bouncing at different speeds and rates, now we have something that gets kind of hypnotic. You can actually look at. And then he gets into like moving characters around. And if you do that within this possibility space, what will happen if you do this or that? And it's just all like leads you to think about game design in a way that is so simple but inspiring, and is like, yeah, I guess this is what this is. It's so that's one of my bids is Yasuhara. He's cool.
It's a good answer.
Good answer. Good answer.
I mean, for me, I really have to say that the heroes of the games industry for me are really the little people. We're talking about the QA,
I was going to say that, like, unironically.
Yeah, but no. When I'm thinking of someone who I found really inspiring recently, without really having much connection to them, actually, I think Michael Bro, as kind of an outsider, kind of artist guy, I find super inspiring. I don't like everything he does, but kind of specifically the way that he kind of like comes up with the idea and then polishes it to an insane degree. And it's always such a limited idea. It's like, what if the characters can move across 4 spaces or 6 spaces or whatever like that? And sort of rolls with the punches of the design in terms of like something weird happens, so he makes that something. And I really can't think of almost like a more singular vision than something like Cinco Paws. It's not 100% to my taste, but it's obviously 100% kind of to his taste. So like, I kind of really, really appreciate people who just come out and they say, this is what I'm doing, like it or lump it. Also, it's $7 or something, and that I'm not going to make it $1. So I'm into it. I really like what he does.
I agree.
I've known Michael for a while on and off, and I've always had good interactions with him. He's a nice guy, pretty low key guy. So yeah, I mean, anytime that there's anybody who is doing their own vision and they're not a huge, networking asshole about it, I think that's a small victory. I mean, I always had positive interactions with Jake Elliott, who was one of the people who made Kentucky Route Zero, for example. I mean, I don't know him very well, but I've always liked Inkrapara's games, Stephen Lavelle's games. I think his games are very, very unsung, and he's made a lot of different kinds of things. I don't know. There's a lot of people. I feel like almost silly like naming particular people because I don't want to like, people to get all cult of personality around particular folks because I've been in the indie space and people have a tendency to do that. But there are plenty of like nice, reasonable people. And anytime that anyone is able to do something unique and of a singular vision and they're not a huge asshole about it, I consider that a small victory.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say in response to that, I know we didn't want to talk too much about like social stuff or whatever like that, is that, for some of these people, they might have some level of privilege that's allowed them to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more people out there. Like, I think a lot of those people we think of actually are just like straight white dudes, right? So like,
yeah,
I think one of the things that when I think about that, like, I want people to have more position to create their own singular visions and games and be supported in that way for them to get into the world. So I suppose like that is one of the ways to think about it, not to get all what I was parodying earlier, but like I think like there should be more of these kinds of heroes in the games industry, and we should be more aware of them because they probably are out there, and they don't have the ability to do the things, they don't have the press behind them or whatever. Not that Michael Brew is like always at the front page of Kotaku or anything like that.
So the true heroes are the unknown gamers, I would have to say.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we should build some sort of
yeah,
the tomb of the unknown gamer.
The tomb of the unknown gamer. Yeah.
So Passion Orange Guava has contacted you to help them make a video game promoting their brand, but they've warned you that while they've grudgingly agreed that the game can reference POGs if it must, the emphasis should be on the juice itself. How do you implement POGs into this mostly juice-based game?
I don't know what we're talking about.
This is a Jake from State Farm for me because I don't have a fucking clue what we're talking about.
You don't remember POGs from the 90s?
So POGs were based off of a company that sold juice, and I think based in Hawaii.
Yes,
they were based in Hawaii. Yeah. I didn't realize it was juice. I thought it was milk.
No, it's made out of passion fruit, orange juice, and guava juice. That's why they're POGs.
Okay, so what is the question again? I'm sorry.
You're making a POG video game, and they really don't want the emphasis to be on the toy POGs. They want to promote the juice, but they're letting you put POGs in if you must. So how are you going to implement POGs into this mostly juice-based game?
What era am I in? Am I right now?
You're in right now, yes.
Sorry, I'm still confused. We have to implement POGs into this game?
No, they don't want you to.
So we don't. But you said it like we did have to implement POGs.
No, the company doesn't want you to, but you know that the POG fans will be expecting the POG toys in there.
So we have to have hidden POGs.
Here's what I would do. We got passion fruit, orange, and guava. Those are our three characters in our squad-based juice FPS.
First-person juicer.
Is it like Splatoon?
It's like Splatoon. We're shooting juice all over the place.
Yeah, I think something very liquidy. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing that. And POGs are just power-up that you collect. And you collect it, and then you can activate your POG, and it'll like slam a big POG down on top of everything, or it'll spin across the world and do some stuff, knocking enemies away.
One of the hidden items will say Alpha's back in POG form.
Yeah. But I think The Simpsons would shut that one down.
No, but it's just a very hidden.
Oh yeah, if you hide a copyright violation very well, then you can get away with it.
That's how it works. Yeah, I think I would be doing that, and then it would all take place on the exotic isle of Hawaii, and I would have okay, this is gonna get dark, but
there should be piss physics.
Okay.
Oh no!
This is a little sidebar there. Just to throw that in there, there should be piss physics.
Yeah.
Just like in Crypt World.
Yeah, that would really fit into their slogan, Passion Orange Guava, the juice that makes you piss.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was thinking, I would just have like tourism boards and hotels advertise in there, and to just I mean, I don't know if you have you any of you been to Hawaii? You been there?
No.
It's a wild place because everyone who's from there can barely afford to live there because the entire state is now in service of tourism by and large, and so like Mark Zuckerberg is buying up like multi-million-dollar island or whatever, and no native people can go there, and all the native people have to work.
Yeah, maybe you could piss on Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, maybe you could piss on Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, everyone has to work for the hotel.
I think the people who run Passion Orange Guava might not be too upset with that. It is a Hawaii-based company.
Okay, well let's get them. You pee on the rich people. Hawaii used to be self-sustaining. It used to have subsistence farming, like we were talking about earlier, and so it was a completely self-contained place. And now it's almost entirely reliant on the mainland for almost everything because we made it that way.
Yeah.
We made sure that it would be that way. So
maybe POG in this game stands for piss on gentrifiers.
Oh, perfect. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Yep, you just gotta drink, like, you have to drink a bunch of the juice, and then fill up your piss meter, and then piss all over Mark Zuckerberg, all these types. Yeah, perfect. I'm into it.
Well, and you can use the piss to water the crops that you're starting your own subsistence
That
community
doesn't
farming.
seem good, does it? Although, actually, you'd probably water down your piss so much by drinking so much fluid that it would be close to just water. Because I don't think, like, the pH of your piss, right, probably isn't good for plants.
That's true. Okay, well, maybe there's special piss approved crops.
Remember, you're fruit, so maybe you're.
Yeah.
Are there any famously fermented items that Hawaii makes? You know, like how there's like pissed on shark from Iceland.
I don't know if they have.
I mean, the weather doesn't get cold there, and usually fermented stuff comes from colder weather places.
True. I guess like maybe POG could come up with some sort of fermented foodstuffs.
Yeah,
that,
I think so.
Could help the industry of Hawaii. You know, like
it's a piss marinade.
Yes.
This is probably the worst thing we've ever discussed in this show.
Yeah,
I doubt it. Here's our next question. What is the I Love Lucy of video games?
Oh.
So this is a tough one because I Love Lucy is simultaneously like racist and some of the first positive representations of race on TV in America. It's also simultaneously feminist and super misogynistic. It's very confusing.
So it's like not there, but an important step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Bayonetta? I don't know.
yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I'm trying to think of something that is more like a light comedy type thing.
Sam and Max or something.
Well, you know what? It could be? It could be like a Sierra game, because there are a lot of things about Sierra games that are like, they're designed by women, but then they're also kind of progressive. They had Police Quest and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
So I think it's a Sierra game and kind of like a funnier one. So maybe like, I don't know, not Gabriel Knight. Maybe like a King's Quest.
Sure.
Yeah, which one is the one where you first one we play the princess? Is it King's Quest 4? Yeah, because I mean, there's lots of like, early video games. Like there's that YouTube series that's just being done right now that I forget the name of, where they're talking about the early first appearance of women in video games, right? And they first appeared in porn games. Then you go through things like, I guess the first thing that came to mind for them was Girls Garden. Who did Girls Garden for Sega? Was it Yuji Naka?
Yeah.
Something like that. But then I think like something like the Sierra games makes a lot of sense because, they're developed by women and they're not very good, and they have a lot of the problems of the, not just in terms of game design, but also in terms of like views of women and so on. But like for a lot of people, those games were extremely positive in their development, right? And I can totally see that.
There's also Phantasy Star. I don't know if it's problematic enough, but it is a step.
Towards what?
Towards fantasy and stars.
Towards fantasy.
Towards
and stars.
Online.
Towards the stars.
I mean, it was an early female protagonist RPG, one of the earliest, and it was directed by a woman also. Well, I guess she did the main graphics. It had a woman lead at least.
I mean, it isn't that problematic though, and it's pretty well designed for the era.
It isn't. Yeah, I think so. That's where it falls down. It's a little too good to be.
I think the early porn games are much too problematic. So then we come to a nice, middle ground with King's Quest 4.
Yeah.
King's Quest 4 is something that's kind of marketed towards younger audiences as well, and younger people would be watching I Love Lucy. So
that's true.
I thought I Love Lucy was for middle-aged homemakers.
It is, but it's it's TV of the era. It could be watched by. It's not like there's tons.
Yeah,
of...
nothing else was on. Everybody watched the same show together. There was a mono demographic.
Yeah. Is there a famous scene in King's Quest 4 where they're like
eating
overwhelmed
chocolates off a conveyor belt
by the number of chocolates on that conveyor belt and how much flour there is?
The level of humor and that stuff is pretty equal, I will say.
Yeah.
All right. As long as it's got some vaudeville.
Yeah, I don't think there's any sequence where they stomp on grapes, but it's pretty close. King's Quest 4, that's our answer. The I Love Lucy of video game. Put it on the box. Would the world be better off if there were no video games?
Oh, I don't think so. We make fun of it all the time, but I don't think it would be better off.
We wouldn't be here talking about it. So
Yes,
for me, the world would not be better off without video games.
No, I think like the way in which the world would be better without video games is like you don't have America's Army. I think that even if video games didn't exist, the Army would still make training simulators. Like we would still have technology. They would have still gotten there. So I feel like even without video games evolving as a creative medium, there would have been some way to train you to kill better.
Yeah, a bonus to having no games is that we would be without the colonizer Mario.
I find it really hard to visualize like a world without video games because to me, I think ultimately that is just a world without games, right? Like because once you have the ability to make stuff appear on the television, you're probably going to make games with that as well as anything else, right? Because otherwise, the world would existed would just be like, I guess, be watching television and reading books and stuff all the time. They wouldn't be reading books, but they'd mostly be watching television. I suppose
there could be a world where it's done, but it doesn't like really catch on, and it was a fad, like everybody predicted. Like people just don't take to it.
Hard to envision that.
Part of history I always find most interesting when you talk about sort of war without games is sort of the period of time before Dungeons and Dragons, right? I know I'm just going off on a tangent here, but I don't really care. Because, like, to play Dungeons and Dragons, when you really think about it, it's the simplest thing in the world. You just have a rules framework, and you roll dice, or whatever, which have existed for millennia at this point, basically, and tell stories, right? And yet, for a huge period of time, when it was possible, no one ever did it. And to some extent, like, I always think that, like, what was it that was stopping players? And I think to some extent, people would say, like, well, people worked in the mines for 12 hours a day, and they didn't come back up and go, and now I'm the elf Eragon, like, they just were like, I'm going to bed, I was down the fucking mines. But at the same time, it's thinking, like, well, there was nothing much else to do than listen to the bloody radio, right? You'd think that people would do more stuff than just, like, I guess, like, listen to the radio and sleep, but they never did until, like, the 70s, right? So I always find that aspect of a world without gaming more interesting, that period where it was eminently possible to have them, but no one did it.
I feel like, to an extent, people weren't doing, like, the active role play, but, there's, like, call and response songs where it's led by one person and they'll come up with a new lyric and then someone else will come back and in a way that's
stuff
like
that you could do at the workplace.
That was like a predecessor to that sort of thing, and it was like immersive rather emergent interactive storytelling with essentially a dungeon master and everyone's following along.
I mean, well, one thing I will say is in the US, I mean, it can't be overstated. We had the satanic panic in the 80s and I had a friend whose mom would just like, we had to hide playing Dungeons and Dragons because she thought it was satanic. Like they wouldn't celebrate Halloween. And
fun to me that's real. I mean, not fun, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is totally still a thing. I imagine earlier, especially as like evangelical Christianity is kind of sweeping through, and it always has been for the European colonizers of the US. I can't imagine it catching on because they see it as inherently kind of this like pagan thing, taking on this identity and role playing as these kind of like pagan type figures. And in the age of like the Enlightenment, that's something that people would deliberately some people would deliberately like see as bad for the soul or whatever. So I mean, in other countries, I'm sure.
I think it's funny you mentioned that because you talk about call and response and things like that. Like almost the idea is not like what if video games didn't exist, but it's what if video games didn't involved in a totally different way that was less rules and dark focused, I guess. Because the thing about Dungeons and Dragons, right, is you're not just sitting with friends telling a story, right? Like you're like very engaging with a rules framework, and RPGs have evolved far past that, but like games are still very rules focused. And so like maybe the idea is like in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, people wouldn't sit down and like play a video game. They'd have this device that allowed them to connect to, I don't know, a network of people and then sing songs together. I don't know, something very utopian, but maybe that could be the situation, and maybe the world would be a better place in that situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think like it's easy to look at the problems that we have now and be like, video games are the cause of this, but the cause of this is the culture and the systems that build. And it's not really inherent to the technology itself. This is the boring answer, I know, but it's true.
We need the boring answer.
I like video games pretty well.
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, like, the simple fact is that the video games are, as you say, just are a symptom of the culture. Like, you don't get a situation where everyone sits down in front of the sing box and they sing a wonderful connecting song that keeps me connected to the community in the current culture, right? And I don't think that video games changing in respect to change the culture. It's just interesting to think about how could games have evolved differently if it wasn't for the I guess the way the culture they created, but like, you know, Dungeons and Dragons existed within a culture, and the games they exist within a culture, and American football exists within a culture, and that feeds all the way back, you know? Like, it's just, I just find it interesting.
Just for a second, I want to mention that I find it an interesting thought space thinking about those utopian Star Treks where they don't have the same kind of societal problems that we have, but their games are like...
They have 12th dimensional chess.
It's holodeck.
Yeah, I mean, there's holodeck. I guess that's the thing. But even then, it's like largely isolated, or you invite 2 of your friends. It's not like, let's all be here in this holodeck and have a cool time together. I don't know. It's interesting.
All right. Well, after a pretty awful experimental lightning round in the last episode,
I liked it, but I wasn't going to do it.
we're going back to that old standard of name design. This is where I
Nice.
give you the name of a thing, and you have to think of what game that would be, like what that game would be with that name.
Okay.
This week's theme comes from another dirtbagger, Yeso, who suggests swear words and curses that no one uses nowadays. Yeso says that these go as far back as medieval times, and that he checked
Carnation.
to make sure that each of these weren't racist or homophobic and were just rude.
Crossing our fingers.
Okay, well,
If
fingers
you have
crossed.
so if you have
Yeah.
problems with any of them, do not contact me. Contact Yeso, who you can probably find at forums.insertcredit.com.
You definitely can.
Your first game is Rantalion.
Ooh.
I don't know this one, but do we know what, or does it even matter what context? You Rantalion, or is it like, oh man, right in the Rantalion? What is it? What does it
That's
mean?
up to you.
Okay.
No, so I think it's like a Japanese like late 80s arcade game that maybe also had a port on like the PC 88 or whatever there. And it's like it's an action game where you have a sword and you go slashing. It's
I was
like
thinking
kind
spear. I think you got a
of
spear in
you got a
Rantalion.
spear.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some light like experience point or like RPG elements or like action RPG elements.
Can I have an alternative pitch? My pitch
sure.
is it's a game where you are like a soldier running around collecting other soldiers till you reach a critical mass where you can then ram through a wall, and that's each level because you are a ram battalion.
Oh,
but
it's
it's
Rantalion. I'm
Rantalion.
sorry, with an N. Your next game is Bed Swerver.
That's it's hard not to come up with a porn game for this one. I tell you what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could come up with a porn game for it then.
Now here's one that's not a porn game. It's you're a bunch of dreamers. This is like an 80s Amiga game. You're a bunch of children who are asleep, and each of you are in your bed and you're racing to through this
Ooh.
dreamscape. And so you've got to swerve your bed around the other opponents in
A
order
little
to
Nemo.
yeah.
I like it.
It's a little Nemo, but we couldn't afford the license.
Haymarket Hector.
Whoa.
This was a swear word?
This has to be a simulation game,
Yeah.
like Wall Street Kid or something.
Yeah, so I was thinking it could either be a simulation game, which makes a lot of sense, or it could be one of those big head platformers. Just since Frank's not here, I've got to mention a big head platformer.
We got to represent that.
Because Haymarket Hector also sounds totally like someone's ill-formed attempt to create a mascot character. And
This is another. We're going back to making fun of bad Amiga games.
Yeah.
well, it's hard not to do it.
Your next game is Arf, 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 and Arf.
What?
How is that a swear word?
Not a swear word.
That's the thing a dog says.
You put an ampersand in a swear word.
It's rude of them. Well, this is it's like Three Dirty Dwarves, except you're all dogs and there's 4 of you.
That makes sense.
It's a stupid meme game of where
Yeah.
you're dogs.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's like a goat simulator, but with dogs.
Bloody Nora.
Oh, this
That's a
one
pretty
rules.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This has got to be a horror
I'll say
game.
Bloody Nora today.
Yeah, it's you'd be chased around by a bloody kind of like sad 1800s kind of nurse or something
Sure.
called Nora in an abandoned girls' school or something, and she keeps you look in a mirror, she's like there and all bloody and shit.
the story may or may not have been stolen from a Dario Argento film.
Sure. I was thinking that the first half you do that, and then the second half you play as Bloody Nora and discover her tragic backstory and why she actually should be terrorizing.
Let's win all the awards with that. Your next game is Dad Sizzle It.
I love it. I love this one. Dad Sizzle It.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
I'm gonna start
This is
using
another like wholesome core, like kind of like dream daddy dating thing, except you're cooking.
Oh, it's a King of the Hill game.
Yeah, you're the dad doing the BBQs, and you gotta flip the steaks into your family's mouths.
Yeah, but it's definitely got to be Liz's idea of you're dating them. They're out in the yard. They're doing their grilling.
That's how you impress dates. You know,
you're sizzling up some love.
You're a single dad and you're a widower, so you're trying to like impress the dates, and your teenage kids are just like rolling their eyes at you.
I mean, we should get Chris Graft in here for this.
He's
happily married and everything, but he's got all of this except for
he'd make a great
people.
Dad Sizzlist protagonist.
He would.
Each dad you're trying to date would have a different amount they like their steak cooked. And
Yeah.
you have to very carefully pay attention to that. And if the dad was like, I like my steak well done, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Gosh all Potomac.
Oh.
Potomac is a river or a boat? I forget.
I think it's a river.
It's a river.
Well, I was thinking it could be then like the Suez Canal thing, where you just got a boat and they're all jamming up. It's one of those physics games, and you're just jamming up all the boats into the Potomac.
Oh, I like that one.
And there's a non-copyrighted version of Goofy, and he says Gorsh.
Yeah, Gorsh all Potomac.
It's like reverse Jenga. You're trying to make a Jenga in the Potomac River.
Your next game is Snails.
With an apostrophe in front of it?
With an apostrophe in front and an exclamation mark at the end.
So that's like God's nails? Is that what that is?
It's definitely like an Amiga, like weird kind of quirky strategy game, like Worms or Lemmings.
Yeah,
Toddlers, like toddlers.
Yes, I don't know what that is, but or like
that sounds like you made that one up.
There's this game called Baldies that is like a PC strategy game that makes me think of that. But yeah,
I
except you're snails.
I think Baldies came out on the Atari Jaguar.
Yes, it did.
Your next game is Mistress of the Svinefell Troll.
Good lord.
This one also rules.
How is this a swear word?
It's a Norse insult.
Okay.
Oh, to be the mistress of a Svinefell Troll.
Yes.
I guess so, yeah.
This is like a part of a mini series of like point-and-click adventure games that are like...
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It maybe hidden object game, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's part of a series, and this is like, the first one in the series.
Yeah.
All right. Spanish Pouch.
Oh my goodness. I won't say anything.
I feel like it's very possible that this one is, if not racist, slightly misogynistic.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's iffy. We might have to pass on this one.
It's a sex game.
We can clean it up. It's Spanish Doraemon. Doraemon has a pocket that can have anything in it, and Spanish is right in the word. I don't know.
Yeah,
all I hear is Spanish pouch, and I assume it's like some kind of sex term.
Yeah, I assume it's a vulva.
Yeah.
That's what I'm,
Ragnar Hairy Trousers.
I mean, these are all Amiga games. That's just...
Yeah, they really
this one's
are.
an Amiga game as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Any game made in the UK between like 1982 and 1989.
All right. And finally, Windfucker.
Windfucker. It's a sequel to Windjammers.
Wait, no. See, Windfucker isn't a swear word, though. Windfucker was what they used to call a bird, isn't it? Like, I thought windfuckers were like swifts or something like that. So actually, because like fuck wasn't really a swear word, right? Back in the day, it was just like a term. So like, I don't know. I'm starting to think this entire round is completely moot, because that windfucker is not a swear word.
This whole system is out of order.
According to the Wiktionary, it was used as an insult for quite a while there.
Mathew, it's the common kestrel.
Yeah.
Kestrel, yeah. The kestrels used to be called a windfucker. Kestrels are really cute as well. I like a kestrel. So it's a game about a cute little kestrel killing little mice and shit.
I like that. Sure.
Flying around, eating masses.
So I'm tallying the points here, and Brandon, you actually won this episode. Congratulations. Yeah, how did that happen?
I don't know.
A come-from-behind victory. You're going to have to come up with the first question for next week's
I'm
show.
gonna come up with something. Oh, before we move along, I just want to tell everybody that I figured out what that freaking game is that I've been trying to figure out for like 6 months.
Yeah.
With the hands.
The
It's
hands?
called Hylix. Or and
Oh yeah, Hylix. Yeah, I've heard of
Hylix
that.
2 just came out a little while ago, and it's just gorgeous to look at. Go take a look at
Mystery
it.
solved.
It's a French game. Speaking of European games,
Oh, the France.
One of the services we provide at forums.insertcredit.com is trying to identify games based on vague clues. That would have been a good one. So, this is the point in the show where we recommend things for our listeners to engage in, or plug whatever things we might happen to be working on if we are so inclined.
Oh yeah, what do I got? Oh yeah. Oh man. I have a recommendation. Speaking of things that are problematic, I recommend the Jack Frost horror film of 1997. Has anybody else seen this movie?
I am aware of the marketing campaign.
I haven't seen that one, but I think I've seen Jack Frost. Which is the one where he goes to Hawaii? Is that 2 or 3? I think I've seen that one.
That's two.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. The director also worked on that game where John Cusack has like multiple personalities, whatever thing. And that was like a big budget movie, and he joked that Jack Frost was made for the cost of that movie's catering budget. It's about a serial killer who's on his way to death row, and then the prison vehicle crashes with an experimental science vehicle of some sort that melts him and turns him. He fuses with the snow, and then he becomes a sentient snowman, and he can do murders on everybody. And
wow.
He does.
I didn't know that was the plot.
That's the plot, and it's so stupid. And like, but there are some legitimately funny jokes in it. Like, there's a tense scene where the local sheriff who's got to take this guy down hears a sound outside of his house, and he like pulls out his gun, and there's like tense music playing, and he's gonna go get this guy, and then he just bonks his head on the lamp overhead as he walks outside. And he's like, "What?" And it's just like this tiny little moment that is so inane and stupid, and it ruins all the tension. But they did it on purpose, and I love it. So but it does have some problematic stuff in it. But yeah, give a look to that. And then I'll also recommend the movie Pig, starring Nicolas Cage.
I've heard of that one.
That is a movie that people thought was going to be like John Wick with a pig. It's not like that. It's not a movie that you're going to want to watch like 50 times, but it's cool to watch it once because it's just like an hour-and-a-half movie.
I love those.
About one thing, and it does that thing pretty well. And it's like, even though it starts off, it has like tension in it and peaks and valleys and stuff, it winds up giving you this kind of quiet, wistful feeling in the end. And I think it's a well done movie, and I enjoyed it. So you should give it a look-see.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I was really impressed by that because
me too. Like
Brandon said, like there's this sense of it going in one direction, and then it subverts that. But you know, something subverts something, you're like, oh, here's a subversion, but you don't really dwell on the subversion of the trope. Basically, you instead just enjoy the movie for what it is, and in the end, it's very effective and affecting.
You think it's going to go in one direction, but it doesn't exactly not go in that direction. It just doesn't go in that direction in the usual way. Like it doesn't like, it's not like rah action, let's punch everybody, but it's not. It doesn't get you there in a mild way either.
So it's medium spice.
Yeah, it's well seasoned.
I'm gonna see it this weekend. I'm excited.
I'll just mention Cruelty Squad, even though I haven't played it, because I've watched a bunch of playthroughs of it. Yeah. But also, I have been playing this game called Salad Fields, which I'm sure no one has heard of.
Sally Fields for short.
Yeah, Sally Fields, yes. But it's a puzzle game, like an indie puzzle game made by a queer furry couple. And the puzzles are quite good, and there's a bunch of different kinds of puzzles in them. It's kind of one of those things, one of those games. There's always a few of them. Like, I mean, I guess there's multiple examples I can think of. That game Infernium that Bennett Foddy really likes, but it's just a game that is like surprisingly ambitious, that goes completely under the radar, and very few people have heard of it or played it. So it's probably a good time to mention it. Yeah, Salad Fields.
Yeah, I've got some recommendations. I've really been enjoying this new audio program called Batman: The Audio Adventures. You get it on HBO Max, and it has a staggered release on Spotify right now. It's basically like all those cute henchmen banters in the Arkham video games, kind of building out the reality of the world of Gotham City. kind of a podcast like that, and it's like an official DC product, and it's pretty cool. So if you're into Batman stuff at all, I would recommend that.
Do we skip over Mathew Kumar in terms of his recommendations?
I thought Mathew was, I also like Pig.
He was just agreeing with Pig. I don't know if that was your recommendation.
I mean, it wasn't directly my recommendation, but I'll allow it. Like,
yeah.
All right.
I thought that's what that was.
Okay,
all right.
Okay. Just checking.
Well, Mathew, we'll have you on another time to do your own recommendation, because right now I would also like to recommend that if you're listening to this show on any platform where you can subscribe to or review podcasts, that you engage with us in that way. It's good for the algorithms that push us towards other people's eyeballs. You can also go to patreon.com/insertcredit. No, it pushes them to their eyeballs so that they can then put the podcast in their earballs.
Oh, yeah,
they have to see it before they can listen to it.
That's a good point.
I think about my words, Brandon. Think about my words.
Not me.
You can also go to patreon.com/insertcredit, where you could become a patron to submit your own topics, get our regular episodes 1 day early.
1 day?
1 day early.
1 day early. And even access monthly bonus episodes and other exclusive content. You can also join us on forums.insertcredit.com and follow us on Twitter for our own personal updates and projects.
Forums?
Yeah. And in fact, I would recommend the forums because Twitter is kind of a hell site that you shouldn't visit unless you really have to. But if you must, the show is at Insert Credit. I'm Alex Jaffe. Brandon is at NecroSofty. Mathew is at Mathew Kumar with 1 T for some godforsaken reason.
1 T only.
1 T only.
1 T only. And Liz Ryerson is Ella Guro because she made her Twitter handle before people started using their real names. The show is edited by Esper Quinn with music by Kurt Feldman. Once more, I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Brandon Sheffield. Matthew's next.
I was Mathew Kumar.
And I'm Liz Ryerson.
And you have now completed the episode. Congratulations. I think my favorite of these is Bloody Nora. That's the one I'm going to start using.
I think Gosh All Potomac is just funny. It's not something that I would say, but
Gosh All Potomac.